So what is your favorite thing about working in a not-for-profit organization?
For me, I think that I go to sleep every night and know that I've made a difference. I made a difference in the fight against cancer, and some days that's a big difference. I'm hoping next week will be that good night of sleep, because we're going back to the Hill, back to Jefferson City, to speak with our legislators again. Some days it's a big difference, other days not so big. There's days that didn't go the way I wanted it to go, and if I just happen to roll over and wake up just enough, the mind starts working. Okay, don't forget you got to do this and this and this and this tomorrow. And I just literally have to do these little tricks to make me go to sleep. But the fight's real. The people are real, and I believe in the mission of the American Cancer Society and what I do. So that's kind of what gets me through those nights that aren't so, that I didn't get everything accomplished that I wanted to get accomplished. It's more of a calling for me than an actual job.
Ours is definitely a calling as well, and it's that knowing that you're doing something good for someone else, and knowing, like, understanding what they're going through. And I know that, and I handwrite the card when I send the check, and I always put in there, that there's nothing I can say that's going to take the pain away or even dull it, but we just want to give them something that they, can at least be like, okay, I can pay this bill. I can. That's one less thing I have to worry about, because that was a thing and it wasn't a huge thing, but I think a lot of people probably go through is our daughter was at school when she collapsed, and she had a heart defect, and we knew that this new thing had come up, and she was at risk for a sudden cardiac event, which could be catastrophic. And so she collapsed at school, and the paramedics got there, and they got her to the hospital, and they were working on her, and we knew she was gone. And I think I was in shock for quite a while, but we got home, and I remember sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to get a hospital bill from that. Like that's like a horrible purchase. Like, I got nothing out of that, and I'm going to get a crazy expensive bill from that. But then I got to thinking back, and, we had insurance, and it's good insurance, and we had met our deductible. And so our, timing-wise, I guess if you want to look at it that way, like, we had already paid our out-of-pocket max. So they were going to send a bill to our insurance was going to pay for it all. But I can't imagine the families that lose a child especially, and the heartache you go through, and then you get that bill. Whether or not you can pay it, it's still just a punch in the gut to have to think about. And so, if we can send a donation and it's just lightens the load ever so slightly, that's what makes it worth it for us.
All right, we have one final question before you guys will have a chance to ask any questions you may have, but I'm sure most of you guys that are here today have some sort of interest in maybe working for a nonprofit organization in the future. So do you ladies have any advice for anybody that's looking to go into this sector?
Well, as far as the American Cancer Society goes, we have offices in every major city, and there are even opportunities if you do live in a small town, because we still want a presence in those communities as well. And maybe you think, I don't want to go out and ask people for money, because sometimes they're going to say no. A lot of times they're going to say no. But we have communications, IT, making strides against breast cancer. We have account managers that work with specific accounts. So, let's say a big company, AT&T or Kraft Foods, so they work with Kraft Foods in a huge market. And then it trickles down to each event. So they're kind of an account team manager. Community engagement's the same way. There are a ton of opportunities out there. I searched before I left the house, and this is nationwide because we're one organization. There were probably 200 openings, and that was posted internally. I didn't search externally because they do try to post internally first. But there were a lot of opportunities. Some of them even said unpaid intern. But that's a great way to get a feel for what goes on in a not-for-profit. See if they have an intern program. And some of those intern programs with us are paid. So check out the intern programs. And even start out, I would have taken the administrative assistant position. That might have been the better way. then you're still gonna be doing whatever the community manager wants, because you're taking care of all of everything she's shoving to you. The cancer.org, scroll to the bottom, look for employment. And I've seen in our St. Louis office that we've hired quite a few people that have started out as a part-time Making Strides Against Breast Cancer caller, just calling businesses. And then they went from that to an administrative assistant's position, and then they're in a community manager position. So don't be afraid that it might not be the job that you think you want to do, or that you think you're qualified for, or that it's not enough money that you really think you deserve. Because you'll never get that. We never get the money we think we're worth. But yeah, don't be afraid to take an opportunity that will be a stepping stone to get you to where you want to be.
My advice is just to, I know the job market is slim pickings sometimes, but making sure that you agree with the mission of the nonprofit, because again, nonprofits work to serve people. They have a mission, they're strict on that mission. Their ideal candidates would be someone who also agrees with that mission. And that's gonna make that's gonna make them happy because you're really fighting for them. And it's gonna make you happy because it's something that you truly believe in and that you're passionate about or can be passionate about. And so, again, I know, sometimes there just aren't a lot of options, but if you're looking to get into a nonprofit, I would say find one that really, strikes a chord with you, because then you can really vouch for that and you can put on that face that people want to listen to, because you can tell, what your organization is about. And, you can sell it. You can tell the story, you can tell the mission, and you believe it, and you feel it, and you live it, and it's going to get you farther. So, if you can avoid just going for the first thing that comes up, not to go against what she's saying. It could be like an entry-level position, but, look at the missions and make sure that you agree with it, because it'll mean a lot more to you and to everyone else.
Well, thank you for answering all of my questions. That was very courteous of you guys. But I wanted to give you guys a chance in the audience. If we didn't go over any questions that you may have for these ladies, we have some extra time. So if anybody has questions, feel free to raise your hand or write it on a piece of notebook paper, and I can read the question if that makes you feel more comfortable.
I have a question for Mrs. Clark. I think starting a nonprofit is so brave and so cool, and you're so new. Where do you see your nonprofit going in 3 or 5 years?
I mean, if you ask me, we're going to have a storefront on the square, and we're going to have all these resources that we can provide to anyone who's just looking for help because of a loss or an illness. If you ask my board, they're probably going to be a little bit more conservative, but I don't know. I really hope to grow it, but as long as we are able to support all the families that need it when they need it, because when we set out, I told my board and my husband, and did I tell you who our board is made up of? I'm the president, my husband's the vice president, a high school friend is our treasurer. Both of our moms, so my mom and my mother-in-law, are both secretaries, because I couldn't pick one over the other, so we have 2 secretaries. And then our dads are just general members, and then we have a friend who's a general member too, who works a lot in fundraising. And so, we set out, and I told them, when we send a donation, I don't want to send a $50 donation or a $100 donation. I want it to be a little bit more substantial. And so we have set our sights on, when there's a family in our community, so in Adair County or any county touching Adair County, we will send them a donation of $300, as long as we can afford it, as long as we have the funds. So right now, we can and we have. We've supported a couple of families that have been outside of our area, and we'll send them $100, just because they're not in our immediate community, and a lot of our funds come from our immediate community. So we want to make sure that our donors know that we do stay local as much as we can. But there are other families who, pull at our heartstrings, so we want to help them. But as long as we can always support the families that need it when they need it, I'm fine staying there. But I hope that we can eventually provide more services regarding just helping the families and maybe the siblings who deal with an illness or a loss of a sibling. But I don't know. Those are just my ideas. So.
bright and early on the 4th, and we'll have a meeting. And they'll kind of really tell us what our priorities are for that day. One of the big priorities is always the Show Me Healthy Women program, which provides medical treatment, medical screenings for women, low and uninsured women. So I know in the past when I've talked to Mr. Munslinger that he's had a sister that had some issues with no insurance, and so I know that that's pretty well. He's gonna take care of us. So sometimes it's just that's just more of a visit. But then you have others that it's really a hard sell for them because they don't have a personal connection to it. But with our organization of ACS CAN, anybody can be a member. So it's a $10 membership a year. So if there's an issue that comes up with a legislator in my area, I get an email that said, hey, they're voting on this today. Send this email and let them know how you feel. The email is pretty well already written out for you. You can go in and adjust it, make changes. Most of the time it's so well written, I just hit send. But they get that, and then they really pay attention to those things. And we still have people that don't use internet, so they just make the call down there, and they just say, hey, I want you to know Senate Bill blah, blah, blah needs to pass. And they look at those. Those are their constituents. Those are the people that put them in office. So it's always very interesting to go there, because it wasn't that long ago that there were people, lobbyists, cigarette lobbyists, and they would just be smoking up and down the hallways, and we're like, you're killing us. You're killing yourself too, but that's okay. But so it's always interesting there. And I always try, and it's open to any volunteer that wants to go. If a volunteer wants to go, it'll be only if you're from Missouri, but you'll talk to legislators from your district. So it's exciting, because you're not going to get the opportunity to talk to them any other time and have their attention. And at times you get to go out on the floor. They'll take you out on the floor and introduce you. So it's a process that's, I've always enjoyed it, and I always try to make that every year. It's usually in March. It's not too late if anyone wants to go.
Anybody else have other questions? If not, a gentle reminder that the Career Expo is tomorrow, and we have over 100, well, right about 100 employers and graduate schools coming, and they want Truman students.